Bill Watts was the booker at the time, and I think he saw that, he's very familiar with my work, and I'm sure very familiar with Shawn's work, and thought that, Bill, who was a big heel guy, saw what I was capable of as a heel, and I think, I know, I've spoken to him since, that he saw real value in putting this ultimate heel with this penultimate babyface. So we get to Valparaiso for a dark match, and we are in the ring in front of 17,000 something people. The building was packed, and we're circling around as we go to lock up. Shawn Michaels takes a flat back bump, and he's laying in the ring laughing. And, I know that Bill Watts is looking on in the back right now at the monitor. In real time, I know that Bill Watts right now is having a stroke back there, wondering why I'm not dropping on him and sugaring his ass and locking him up. And so I said to him, covering my mouth, I said, unless you want to get your ass stretched, you better get back to your feet. And he jumped up and he covered his hand over his face and said, take it easy, Dean, take it easy. Like it's some big fucking joke out there. And this is how the whole match went. I'm trying to call the match as a heel, and he keeps on, like say I would call it hip toss. He's going, no backdrop. Now go, no hip toss, God damn it. That's how the whole match went. It was pulling teeth. And I come back. The match, as you can imagine, sucked, because I'm pushing, he's pulling, and, it just wasn't working. And I come back to the curtain, and Bill Watts is standing there, and he hasn't said a word. He's got his hands out to his side like, what the fuck happened? And one of the few times I ever spoke back to Bill, I put my finger up like, don't say a word. And I walked past him. I'm walking past him. I said, it's all your golden boy. Talk to him. And went back. But both of us had been told at that point what the angle was. The angle was to be a repeat of Rick Rude versus the Ultimate Warrior, where I would ultimately beat him for the Intercontinental title, and at WrestleMania he would beat me for the world title with chin music. I was fine with that. I assumed he was, but I guess you're Shawn Michaels and you lose your smile. It's easy enough to see why you get upset about losing a match. So, we've already spoken before about the In Your House in Regina and what happened there. This was the outset of that. This was the front end of that. And, I was more than willing. If Shawn wanted to go out and shoot, we could do that. I'm fine with that. And in fact, I'll do it today. The question was, if this guy who the WWF, who Vince McMahon, when you say WWF, you understand you say Vince McMahon, sees this guy as his top guy, his guy that's the most capable, then make him go out there and earn that. And Vince never did that. And we know that ultimately that led to some real tough times in WWF. Capping with the Clique just totally disrespecting the fans, disrespecting themselves, and disrespecting the company, and going out in Madison Square Garden and having this summit because they felt like it. Fuck Vince and fuck the fans and fuck the company and all the guys in the dressing room trying to make a living. We're going to come out here because we feel like doing it. It's just so typical for what you see in the Clique and the attitude of those guys at that time.
Now, Shane, on this one, I'm going to grab the tag rope. I'm going to join you in this one and get on your team and tag up with you for a second, because I feel like a lot of fans don't know the Shawn Michaels of that era of the 90s. Oh, they're like, oh, that was just Shawn being Shawn or something like that. But people don't realize that this guy, and they call him Mr. WrestleMania and all this other stuff, and I do think he's a great wrestler, and I do like him, but I have to be real. He would take matches off. He would take months at a time off. And I'm not talking about he wasn't wrestling. He was wrestling, but he did exactly what he did in your match. He took the match off. He dogged it.
Yeah.
You could tell he was being lazy or he was overselling or he was, laughing, trying to make a joke in the ring. There were so many instances with him where you just say, man, there's so much talent, such a good wrestler. He's just got to stop fucking around, and he's got to, I'm not jobbing this guy, I'm going to hand the belt over. Pretend I got beat up by a bunch of Marines when it was one guy, kicking my ass, or whatever story. But I don't think people like the new fans, they just think, oh, Mr. WrestleMania, he was great. Oh, he had great matches with this guy and that guy. They don't realize he kind of, took his own ball and would go home at points, or even just have horrible matches on purpose.
Yeah, and you can see why somebody like that would then later claim that they lost their smile when something didn't go their way. Look, the historical data's out there. People can look at it and they can, if somebody hates Shane Douglas or hates anybody that says something antithetical to what Shawn's career has been, understand that the company, their job, and this is no slam to the WWF, their job is to make this guy a superhero. That's their job. So when you hear the stories, and you've heard how many now ad nauseum, Shawn was beaten up by, I would joke about the number, what was it, like 12 or 15 people? At the time, that was the story that was put out by the WWF. When it turned out to be one, him forfeiting the title, all these things that come into the play, where, when he showed up at Regina and he's got a scratch on him, goes into the makeup room and suddenly made up to look like he was beaten to hell, I would be embarrassed to do something like that. And I say that as somebody that came through ECW, and we often carried real bruises and real tears and stitches. I would be embarrassed to go and do that, to say that. The only reason you would do it is because it would find a sympathetic ear in your boss, which then would allow you to figure that you could do whatever the hell you wanted to do. And that, so ergo played out. We end up at this point where the Clique walks out in Madison Square Garden and has this summit meeting, as JP put it, which completely rips the kayfabe off the business and doesn't matter to them because they're all making their money. But how about the guys and the women in the back that are making their money on a night-to-night basis? So it's real easy when you surmise it and preview it from Shawn's comments that you can make friends or you can make money. I choose to make money. Shawn's comments. My comment being, I've been able to do both in my career, and I sleep very well at night. I never lost my smile, and it's laughable, and I say that all with the greatest respect for Shawn's in-ring abilities. Anybody that's ever listened to me do an interview knows I have never put Shawn down in that respect. Shawn is and will always be one of the apex performers in our career, in our business. But why you would resort with all that talent to the cheap politicking that Shawn did, I don't know. Me personally, I wouldn't do that in my career, and I wouldn't be so cavalier about sitting with my money today if I had done that in my past. It's just, it's all where each person sits. I'm comfortable where I sit. I'm comfortable with the way I've conducted myself in my career. He may be too. If he's honest with himself, he shouldn't be.